So, have you guys ever just wanted something so bad that you just think about it all the time? You think about it while you're asleep, you think about it while you're awake, you talk about it to your friends, anyone who cares to listen. You might even draw pictures of it when you're sitting there bored. Well, this is one of those vehicles, the G-Wagon. I want one of these G-Wagons so bad. A Mercedes G550. They come in the G500, they come in the G55, the G550, the G63, and if there's any more that I don't know of, you can fill in the blanks. But this right here is one of my favorite vehicles that Mercedes has ever manufactured. Well, I would say that, the G-Wagon. The G-Wagon is the best built Mercedes that you can buy, in my humble opinion. This is such a phenomenal vehicle. This is built like unlike any other SUV that's on the market. I don't care how rugged these new vehicles look, they're not this. A G-Wagon is the best overall built from the chassis up SUV that you can buy. And I'm going to say that because it's better than even the Lambo SUV, which I think is based on the Audi Q7 chassis. That's not that special. These new Jeeps that are coming out from Jeep, they cool. They're not this. It's a Jeep. Those Dodges, no, they're just Dodges. The Ford Bronco, it's just a Ford Bronco. It's not really that special. But this right here is special. I want a G-Wagon so bad. This is an 09. They're hand built in Austria, I think. This thing is so rugged, so just well put together. It has a presence that cannot be duplicated by anything else on the road. They finally, in the more recent years, changed the interiors. Let me unlock this joint. They've changed the interiors to make it more of a luxury SUV versus just a rugged, built for a purpose SUV. You can take this thing over to Saudi Arabia and go through the desert in this joint. A bomb can go off next to it. I bet you keep on driving this joint, but it'll run straight through it. God, this thing is nice. I love it. I love it. I want one so bad. Now, this is the second G-Wagon that I've had the pleasure of working on. First one was a 2018 G63 by Turbo. I think the one that I do want will probably be, I like the G550. I have to compare this to the G55. The reason why I say the G55, because it's the compressor V8. It's the one that Mercedes commonly use on their vehicles from, I think, 2003 up until 06. And I can do all the work on that right there. You know, it has a supercharged motor. It's something that's very reliable that I can do work on, that I can maintain. You can easily upgrade those motors and get a lot more horsepower out of them. That's a G55. So I'm thinking probably like a 05, I don't know, maybe like a 05 G-Wagon, something like that. But the exteriors on these are easily modifiable. You can also, you can customize the interiors, the exteriors to make them more up to date, to make them appear, you know, newer than they are. But I like these in both forms, original form and the customized forms. I mean, these are just great vehicles, very, very nice vehicles. It's such a classic design. I really love the boxy shape of it. It looks rugged. It looks like it's built for a reason. It looks like it actually serves a purpose. It looks like it really can handle the road. It looks very tough and very masculine. It's not, you know, the updated aerodynamic, curvy, sleek body lines and all that. That's cool, but when you buy one of these, you're not buying it for that reason. You're buying it for something else. And those reasons is why I want to buy this, because I want that traditional, classy, square body style. I think the only thing that kind of reminds me of this vehicle from back in the day is like a Isuzu Trooper, something like that. But Mercedes, you know, they have the high roof line. They really held on to this design for a long time, a very long time. These things might even date back to the 70s. I don't know, 80s, 70s, I don't know. But the design has been around for a very, very long time. It wasn't until recent years that they finally changed that a little bit to make it look more modern and up to date. But I like this. This is the look that I want. I've had a lot of other Mercedes SUVs, but this right here is a different level of sophistication. I want it. I want it so bad. Very nice, very nice, very nice. So I'm honored to work on this. I have to do some pulleys, the belt, thermostat, a couple things I have to check out on it. But I'm honored to be able to work on this. I'm honored to be trusted by the owner, by the client who wants me to do the work for them. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Very beautiful vehicle. Very beautiful. Okay, so the G-Wagon is now in my driveway, and I'm going to swap out these parts that need to be swapped out. So this is what the engine looks like. This is a 550, the V8, 5.4 liter V8. The cover is obviously removed, the front half of the cover, but it looks just like the rest of my S550 V8. Same thing, the 5.4 liter or 5.5 liter, whatever you want to say it technically is, as well as that S550, and well, on the street is the CL550. Let me show you. Oh yeah, and the GL550 right here has the same motor, and that one has the same motor. So I'm pretty familiar with this motor. I've done maintenance on it. It's not a big deal. So here goes the parts that I'm swapping out. Here goes one of the bearing pulleys. Here goes another one. Here goes the tensioner pulley. And here goes the thermostat. So these might be the idler, tensioner, the one that puts the load on the belt, as well as the thermostat. All these parts came from, I can't remember the website, Euro something, but it was a website that I recommended to him. But anyways, pretty hard to get to some of these parts. I mean, the thermostat is right here on the top of the motor, upper part of the motor. The idler pulley is this one, and I think this one is the other one that has to come out. Now the tensioner pulley is that one. Let's see if I can focus. I think it's that one right there. That's a little tight, hard to get to. So that's the thing. The motors are the same, but it's all about how much space you have, how cramped it is inside this engine bay. Apparently the G-Wagon is a little cramped, a whole different design. The radiator fan is pretty close, so it's not as much space. Might have to remove the fan shroud in order to get easier access to it. We'll see. Hopefully I don't, 'cause I'm just looking at how it's made, and I don't want to disassemble too much. Now when I pull this hose out, it's going to get fluid all over the place. Right now the coolant is pretty hot to the touch, so I'm gonna let that cool off a little bit before I disassemble it so I don't burn myself. Try to minimize how much spillage you have. It's going to pour out. Just try to minimize that. Try to control that hose as soon as you disconnect it. The cooler it is, the easier it is to control. When it's too hot, that stuff will come out and spray all in your face or on your arm, or just make a mess, and you'll panic. So I'll just wait for it to cool down a little bit, and I'll see what I'll have to remove in order to get easier access to what I needed to take off. You know, this screw right there, you can easily see that bolt. The other bolt is, once I remove the belt, I'll be able to get that. This belt doesn't seem worn at all, but I think in this case he's doing some preventative maintenance. I know on all these 550s, all the vehicles with the 550 on the back of the model letter, like S550, G550, GL550, even the E550, all of them that have that 5.4 or 5.5 liter motor in it, the V8, always have an issue with that thermostat. It usually sticks open. When it starts to fill, it'll stick open, and your engine will take longer to warm up because it's flowing coolant even when the engine is cold. And so you'll get a check engine light, you read the code, and it says something about the thermostat, the engine not reading this proper operating temperature, basically is what it's saying. So it always points to the thermostat. I don't know if he's having that issue or if this is just preventive maintenance, but nonetheless, I've changed it out on a, I've done it on a C-Class, a C300 or C350. Same issue. That wherever that thermostat was used is a common issue. But with the 550, creating more heat, I think it wears that thermostat out quicker than the other smaller motors. But I think that's probably pretty much like 06, late 06 and up. Whenever they put that that newer motor, the 350, the 550, when they use that thermostat, that was a common issue. I've switched it out on at least 4 vehicles so far, 06 and newer. Same issue. Same issue. So it comes with a new gasket. Remove the old gasket if you have to. If you're having a hard time getting the old gasket off, don't scrape it off. If remnants of this is attached to the engine, to the body, don't scrape it off. Remove it carefully with something plastic so you don't scratch it up. Because once you reattach it, you'll have leaks and you don't want to do that. So make sure if this stuff right here is broken down and sticking to the old thermostat and the housing of the engine where the thermostat goes, try not to use metal. Do not use metal to clean it off. Use plastic or your fingernail. And remove that so that you can put the new one on. Just a little tip. Hopefully this isn't hard to get access to. I mean, it's down low. Hopefully I can get to those bolts fairly easy. But like I said, everything in that engine compartment is hot, so I'll let it cool down first and then I'll tackle that. And we have some from Mercedes, some antifreeze. I believe it's already diluted, the 50-50 mixture, ready to pour. All right. Now I just have to wait. Okay, so I'm done with all the pulleys, I'm done with the thermostat, and I'm done with the new belt. So it's really simple. You don't really have to be a mechanical genius in order to do this. You just have to be careful and make sure that everything that you do disassemble, that you reassemble the same way, except opposite. Makes sense? Yeah, okay. These were the old components that were removed. This is the old thermostat. If you look here at this gasket, you can see that there's little chunks of it that's missing. Little pieces that came off that you had to scrape off of the housing. All right. Now again, I'm not sure if this was bad, but it's always a good idea to replace it. I think they're taking this vehicle out of town, and so it's always good to make sure that your cooler system is up and running properly. These tensioners do go out. I've had one go out on my CL55 at a car show. That was embarrassing. And when these break, you're in trouble. This right here also, these pulleys right here, these are just idler pulleys. There's a bearing in there. When that bearing goes out, this fails. Same thing here. Same thing here. Now this is a plastic outer, metal inner. These fail. I've had one of these fail. Matter of fact, that's what failed on this. It wasn't the tensioner, it was this. Hey, little quick story. This did fail on my Escalade while we were out of town in Tennessee, or we were coming back from Florida in Tennessee. This failed and my AC went out. But again, a different component, but same construction. Basically, it adds tension to the belt, allowing it to whatever device is running, allowing it to operate properly. In the case of the Escalade, it was on the AC. So that tensioner pulley failed, my AC went out. So that's always important to make sure it's working. It's spring loaded. Eventually that spring can fail, you'll lose tension. If you lose tension on this, that one single belt on a Mercedes operates all the components, the water pump, the alternator, the AC, on the main crank, pulley, all that stuff operates off of one belt. So if that tensioner fails, everything fails. Your power steering will fail. And that's likely what you'll see first. You'll feel the power steering getting tight, and also your battery light will come on because your alternator no longer is charging this system. So these are just little things that you want to take care of. Make sure that all those things are in good working condition. It doesn't take long to swap them out. It took me probably about 2 hours once I got started. Not bad at all. So have fun, guys, with your vehicles, man. Always make sure that it's up to par and that you are doing the proper maintenance. If you're not going to do it yourself, make sure you find a reputable mechanic that knows what he's doing, or just taking a Mercedes and get taking advantage of whatever. Just make sure it gets done. All right, this is your vehicle. Take care of it. All right, what's up, everybody? So once you do any kind of work when it comes to the cooling system, if you're replacing a hose, a radiator, in this case a thermostat, and pulleys and belt, in this case you always have to drive the car. You always want to make sure that everything that you did is on correctly, tight. Nothing will loosen up on you, and that the customer, that the client will not have issues down the road as soon as they put it on the road and put it on the highway. So you kind of have to really put the system to the test. Just drive it, in moderation, get it on the highway, get it on the road, and just make sure that nothing pops off. The last thing you want your car to do is to overheat because you didn't put a hose on correctly or tight enough, or you didn't fill it with enough coolant. And you want to look for warning lights. The Mercedes always will tell you if the coolant level is low based on the sensor inside the reservoir. So you want to look for that kind of thing. Just want to make sure that you did good work. Never hand your vehicle back to the client without putting it to the test to make sure that they'll be safe once they buy it from you. Once they, receive their car back from you. Or you will be buying the car, basically, because you're going to be putting money back into the car that should have been your profit. But you have to take the car back and do the work all over again. And so now you're working twice for something that you should have only worked once for, and just tested to make sure that your work was right. So anyway, that's my little rant. Just make sure that that you do good work. All right, this is the 2009 the G-Wagon, the G550. Very cool car, very nostalgic, very unique in its design. And so I have the privilege of working on this and getting it right for the client. So good stuff, man. Good stuff. Always make sure that you give the client what they pay for. Even if you give them a deal, never cut back on the work that you put into the vehicle. Okay? Give them good pricing, but give them more than what they pay for. Yeah, that's a better way of putting it. Give them more than what they pay for. So that is done. The new pulleys, the new tensioner, the new belt, the new thermostat is all installed. It's really not difficult to do. Some people recommend that you remove this, I don't know, this is a turbo or something like that in order to get access to that bolt, but you don't have to do that. That bolt is easily accessible with a smaller socket, a thinner, long socket. Everything else is pretty much self-explanatory. I have to be careful because it is running, but that bolt right there for that pulley is easy. Remove that. That bolt is simple, easy access. You have to use a 17 millimeter in an extension such as that right here in order to pull the tensioner back so that you can access the lower bolt. The tensioner is right there. No, not that way. Right there. So that's easy to do. Pull that back, access that bolt. Get that one out. The top bolt is easily accessible. This one right here, there's a top bolt right there for the thermostat, and then there's one lower below where the plug is connected for the thermostat. That's easy. You will have to remove this top hose. You will lose a whole lot of coolant. As you can see here, the ground is wet from all the excessive fluid that poured out, the coolant. You will lose a lot of that. It will run down, in this case, the driveway, but it's all good. You will get a low coolant light when you reattach everything and fill this up, because it will drop because of the air that you have introduced into the system. When you remove this, you will lose a lot of fluid out of there. You can prop the hose up in the air, elevate it, but you will still lose a lot of fluid. All right, so that's what I did. I tied this off, attached it to this to keep it elevated so that you wouldn't lose as much coolant, but you did lose a lot out of the thermostat when you start to disconnect it. There's just two bolts holding that on. So that's easy. Fill that up to the appropriate level once you reattach everything. All right, there's a little wall in there. Make sure the level of coolant is up to that wall, that divider wall. You can clear the code, let it run, leave the cap off, that the air escape that's in the system, you can make sure this gets hot. Make sure that you check the temperature on the gauge. Make sure that it's not overheating. Make sure that the thermostat kicks in when it's supposed to and drops the temp. So just little things that you have to just double check. All right, top up the coolant. That's the signal that or the warning that I got when I first started it up. But again, I did have to top it off a little bit more in order to get it to the proper level, and that's normal. So I'll clear that. I'll turn the car off. I'll restart it after I let it warm up, let some of that air escape, and then I should not get that fault any longer. So that's easy. So again, I didn't record the process because it is self-explanatory. Just be careful. When you're removing that gasket, make sure you get the remnants or the leftover gasket from around the housing itself. Make sure you clean that off as much as possible so that you have a clean seal. The same design mirrors this 550, so it helps in my case to have another 550 to compare it to just to make sure everything is good. And if I were to break or mess anything up, I would just take it from that vehicle because it's the same components. But no, I'm good. Everything is easy. Even though this is a G-Wagon, it is a 550 motor, so the parts are easily accessible online. All right, so again, I'll just run through this, make sure everything is good, just double check my work, make sure I don't have any leaks, make sure there's no seepage coming out from around that thermostat down there, make sure that gasket is on there nice and tight, and we should be good to go. So I'll go through this vehicle. There's a few other things he wanted me to check, nothing serious, a couple light bulbs, things of that nature, and I'll be returning the car back to the client. So again, this is a 2009 Mercedes G550, a very popular, becoming more popular as the price is starting to drop and people are able to access these vehicles. You can buy one of these. This is an 09. This will probably cost you anywhere between $45,000, $55,000. You can get an earlier model for probably $39,000. The same price as a loaded Camry, but you're getting a whole lot more for your money and the ability to update certain features so that you can feel that you're in a more modern vehicle. But you're not buying this in order to have the newest, latest, and greatest. You're buying this car to have something that's unique, something that's special, something that has a value to it, unlike anything else on the road. It is an older style design, but it is a very strong and one of the best made vehicles that you can buy for the money. So there you go. That's the G-Wagon. One day I will have one in my possession. For the time being, I guess I'll maintain others. It will happen. I'm not worried about it. It will happen one day. So you guys take care, man. I'm sure I left some things out. Sorry about that. I know you guys were really anticipating me doing the whole process and recording it, but I didn't. My bad. Sometimes when I get into my work, man, I really want to focus on my work because last thing you want to do is forget something. And when I get into it, you know, my mind kind of stays focused on what I'm doing and not recording every little bit of the process. So again, self-explanatory. Just take your time and you'll be fine. Look at any other 550 motor and how to do the same work. Removal of pulleys, tensioner, thermostat, and it's the same thing, okay? Same process. All right, guys, you take care, man. Until next time, I'll talk to you later with the next video. Take care. All right. You guys take care, man. Thanks for watching my channel. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Anything you want to see, anything you want me to do differently, let me know. Okay? Talk to you guys soon. Peace out.